Hello, it's Eric here, and I'm your host in this mini series of videos on the principle of explosion. And so we are now on to video number 3. Yeah, and so in the previous 2 videos, we looked at the assumptions, the 3 assumptions: assumption 1, assumption 2, assumption 3. Yeah, in order to prove this principle of explosion. Yeah. And before I prove it today, let me remind you, the principle of explosion. So basically, the principle of explosion means that if you accept the validity of these 3 assumptions, then you can prove that anything is true. Yeah. Like for example, I can prove that next year, 2023, is going to be the end of the world. Yeah. But before I do that, the background music that I've chosen today is again I've chosen a piece from Hiro Inagaki. And he's a Japanese musician from the 70s, and I've just recently discovered him, and I think he plays probably the best psychedelic music in the 1970s era. Yeah, I think he does it better than anybody else. Yeah, I mean he's not alone in his band. He has an 8-piece band, and he only plays the trumpet, but he has a guitarist and a bass player and a drum player, and they're all marvelous people. In my opinion, they play the best psychedelic music, in that genre. Yeah, and I've only just recently discovered him, so there's a lot more material that I can, that I can extract from him, to use as background music in the later videos. Yeah, and so let's get back to the proof of the principle of explosion. The proof is hidden somewhere here. Yeah, so let me enlarge the board so you can see everything more clearly. Alright, okay, so so this is the third video on the proof of the principle of explosion, and then in the last 2 videos we already explained the 3 assumptions. Yeah, the first assumption is basically the Gödel's theorem, and then the assumption 2, assumption 3 are just standard logical operations. And so now we are ready to lay down the proof of the principle. And the proof goes like this. Yeah. Suppose we continue to use the previous 2 predicates. Yeah. So predicate A is basically from the Gödel's theorem. Yeah. So this sentence is false. Yeah. And then predicate B is the world will end in 2023. Yeah. And we already established in assumption 1 that predicate A is both true and not true. So another way to say is that if you say that predicate A is both true and not true at the same time, that means another way to say it is that both predicate A and the opposite of predicate A are true. Yeah. So we have already established that a couple of videos ago. And then in the last video, in the second video, we looked at the 2 standard logical operations. Like if you say A is true, then we don't know whether B is true or not, then A or B must be true. Yeah. And we also established that if A is true, then the opposite of A must be false. Yeah. Those are standard logical operations. Yeah. So now we're gonna use those standard logical operations to prove the principle. Yeah. So let me remind you that predicate A is basically from Gödel's theorem. So then we have already established that both predicate A and the opposite of predicate A are true. Yeah. And what we are not sure about is predicate B. Yeah. So predicate B basically says that the world will end in 2023. Yeah. We're not sure whether it's true or not. Yeah. But I can prove to you that predicate B is actually true. Yeah. And the way to prove that is like this. Okay. So now let's use the standard logical operation of something or something else. Yeah. So here, so we know that predicate A is true. Yeah. And predicate B, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know whether it's true or false. But it doesn't matter because as long as predicate A is true, then A or B must be true. Yeah. And so it doesn't matter whether predicate B is true or false. As long as predicate A is true, then A or B must be true. Yeah. And then we go to the second line, and we also use the previous assumption that the opposite of A is also true. Yeah. So then that means not A. That means the opposite of predicate A is true. And we don't need the predicate B to be true. Yeah, predicate B can be true or false, doesn't matter. As long as not A is true, then something true or something I don't know, then it's also true. Yeah. That means if the opposite of predicate A is true, then it doesn't matter what B is. Then the predicate opposite of predicate A or B must be true. Yeah. And now we're going to use another standard logical operation. So if you say that A is true, so let's say, for example, let's forget about the predicate itself. Yeah, we say that the predicate A originally we said that it's from the Gödel's theorem. Yeah, that means the sentence, this sentence is false. Yeah, let's forget about it. Just look at the general predicate. Yeah, for example, I have a general predicate A, and then in general, in logic, if you say A is true, then the opposite of A, then it's not A must be false, you know. Yeah. So as I said, let's forget about the predicate. The predicate says that the sentence is false. So let's forget about it. Yeah. Let's look at the general predicate A. Yeah. So if A is true, then the opposite of A must be false. Yeah. But if you want to maintain the true value for this second relationship, yeah. So we just established earlier that the opposite of A or B must be true. But now you're saying that not A is false, yeah? Because we said that if A is true, then the opposite of A must be false, yeah? And so now not A is false. But if you want to maintain the true value for this relationship, yeah, then you have no choice but to accept the fact that B must be true, yeah? Because now not A is false, and you want to maintain the true value for this sentence. That means I want this sentence to be true, yeah. So therefore, B, now you have no choice but to accept the fact that B is true, yeah. And so therefore, voila, I have proved that predicate B is true, yeah. That means the world will end in 2023, yeah. And if you are lost somewhere in there in the proof, let me go through the last 3 lines with you one more time, just to convince you that the proof works, yeah. Okay, so the first step is. Okay, so then we're saying that the A or B is true because we know that the predicate A is true, yeah? We already established that in one of the previous assumptions, yeah? And B, we don't know whether it's true or false, yeah? But it doesn't matter because as long as A is true, then A or B must be true, yeah? So that's the first line. The second line is not A or B is also true because we have established again in one of the previous assumptions that the opposite of A is also true, yeah? If you take the predicate to be this, this sentence, this sentence is false, yeah. Then according to Gödel's theorem, the opposite of A is also true, yeah. So therefore, the opposite of A is true, and we don't know whether B is true or false, but it doesn't matter because as long as not A is true, then the whole thing is true, yeah. That's the second step. The first step is we use a general logical operation. For the opposite of something, yeah. For example, we say that A is true, yeah. So let's forget about the exact meaning of predicate A now. You just take a general predicate A, and then if you say that A is true, then not A must be false, you know. Not A must be false. But in just a couple of minutes ago, we just established that the true value for this sentence is true, yeah. So therefore, now you're saying that not A is false, and you want to maintain that this sentence is true. So therefore, now you have no choice but to require predicate B to be true. Yeah. So now, voila, I have proved that predicate B is true. That means that I have proved that the world will end in 2023. You know, and so that's the proof. And it seems that this proof is foolproof. And yes, there are. It's possible to poke some holes into this proof, yeah. And but we're gonna do that in the next video, yeah. And we will also examine the implications, yeah, of this. If you accept that this proof is correct, then we look at some of the the logical implications, in the next video. All right, I'll see you then. Bye.